Okay, so we start out with third step prayer. And so that's on page 63. You guys would like to follow along? God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I hope of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. Nice. Okay, it's going to be Bill and I today. Rob is at a hockey game, as you just heard from Pete. And we are on page 83, and we're about halfway down where there may be some wrongs we can never fully right. Bill?
Okay, Bill, alcoholic from New Jersey. There may be some wrongs we can never fully right. We don't worry about them if we can honestly say to ourselves that we would right them if we could. Some people cannot be seen. We send them an honest letter, and there may be a valid reason for postponement in some cases, but we don't delay if it can be avoided. We should be sensible, tactful, considerate, and humble without being servile or scraping. As God's people, we stand on our feet. We don't crawl before anyone.
Yeah, so it's a good couple of messages here. One is that we're trying to get prepared for our step 9, so we're going to go out and make amends. This is in preparation for that, and in doing so, we also have some of them that we have may or may not. We can never fully right those wrongs. Maybe somebody has disappeared and you can't find them. Maybe it might create a problem and or more harm, just depending on the circumstances. Or maybe somebody's passed away and you no longer can reach out and actually do something to right that wrong. But don't delay if it can be avoided. That's another message here. We want to make sure that we're going after everything that we can. We do that each day. We look at our day and we decide whether or not we can approach certain people and make those amends. And it also here is that sensible, tactful, considerate, and humble without being servile or scraping, meaning that we don't want to kind of approach somebody with the tail between our legs. We want to make sure that we're very confident in what we're trying to accomplish, very considerate of the other person. And there's really about 3 things in here that are important in this paragraph. So, Bill?
Basically, this is the last amends that Bill put in here, and well, what he's saying is, if there's people that can't be seen, as long as we're honestly willing to make that amends and we're ready to make that amends, we should get the spiritual benefit out of this step. And it tells us, as God's people, we stand on our feet. We don't crawl before anyone. In other words, we're not there to beg people to forgive us or to kiss anybody's, rear end or anything like that. We're there to try to fix what we did wrong. And if we can't find the person, we're ready to make the amends. And this is another spot where you need the advice from your sponsor, somebody who's been through this, so they can tell you what they did when they were in that situation. And there's different people do it different, however you want to interpret it. But this is basically the end of the amends that's in the book. Okay, we're on the last paragraph on page 83. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them.
Excellent. Thanks, Bill. The couple of things here is a really good, strong relationship with your higher power is really a foundation for this particular part. And we're looking at this amends phase, which is your step 9, which is these are the 9th step promises in this paragraph. And there's quite a few of them in here. One of the things that I think that is true, it certainly was for me, and that was as I was calling or talking to people with regard to making amends, I was surprised at how receptive they were and supportive of what I was trying to accomplish, and it made it a lot easier, but it also made it a lot more rewarding and fulfilling. And I think that that's really true for everyone that actually puts in the effort to go ahead and go through their step 9 and make the amends from the list that you made on your step 8. And it does, you'll see the benefits of it, as well as the kind of the fear and the self-pity will basically disappear, and you'll begin to feel a lot more useful to yourself and to others. And you will stop really thinking about yourself and more about others in that regard as well. The economic side of things, and that is that whether you owe money or and you work out the terms, it feels good to be able to start chipping away, if not paying off those debts. Those are nice milestones that were stumbling blocks and walls in the beginning, and things that we kind of repelled because of the fear of having to face somebody and thinking that they're not going to be receptive or they're going to be angry, etc. Just really isn't the case. Most people that you're making amends to, like I said, are very receptive and very supportive of the effort. And this constant checking in with your higher power is a necessary part of this. And there's, like I said, a lot of promises here. So this is where you kind of finish up in your planning for your step 9. Now we talk about this, and I'll kind of get to the other part of this. It's really, there's always the question of where do you do your step 9? And what it is that you want to be at your step 11, and you want to be there where you are when you ask about how to conduct your day, that's when you decide upon who's on your list for that particular day that you're going to approach in whatever manner that is most appropriate. And that's when you do your step 9. So we're kind of jumping around a little bit. We're going to talk about our step 10 next, but I did want to kind of go ahead and just kind of put that out there. It's when you get to your step 11 and you start doing your step 11 on a daily basis, you should also be including your step 9 amends in there as well. Bill?
Yeah, well, what he says here, if we are painstaking about this phase of our development, painstaking means if you're careful. If you do this, all of these amends and what you're supposed to do, if you're careful about it, you'll start to get these promises. They may not happen right away. They may take a long time, whatever. But this is what starts to happen after we start going through this process, and when we're halfway through with our amends, that's the way I understand it. You start getting these promises, and these promises, they're the opposite of the bedevilments that are on page 52. On page 52, we were only starting on step 2. We're not recovered at that point. At this point, when we're going through step 9, we should be recovered by this time. We should have had some kind of a spiritual awakening or a spiritual experience. That's why we start getting these promises, because we're getting better. All recovered means is we're getting better. We started getting better at this point. And definitely it says at the end of this that they will always materialize if we work for them. That means we have to do some kind of work. We have to go through this process and do what we got to do in order to get them. All right, we're on the second new paragraph on page 84. This thought brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. We vigorously commence this way of life as we cleaned up the past. We have entered the world of the spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. This is not an overnight matter. It should continue for our lifetime. Continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. We discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly if we have harmed anyone. Then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Love and tolerance of others is our code.
Yeah, there's one thing about this paragraph is that it basically takes you through all of the steps, and you know any new mistakes that we go along, you want to set right. That's really kind of instead of letting them go, letting them fester, letting them then become more resentments. Then when you make a mistake, you immediately own up to it, and you make the amends right then and there, and it clears the air, and everybody's able to move forward. And in most cases, that's going to work. Some cases you may not realize it until after you've finished your day and you're kind of looking back on your day, and you realize that maybe you may have messed up on something, and so then you resolutely plan to make the amends as soon as you can possibly make it with that person that you may have. Entering the world of the spirit is really kind of a part of step 2. And then our next function is to grow in understanding in our effectiveness is really a part of step 3. And they're talking about that this isn't an overnight matter, should continue for a lifetime. This is really a big change for people. And that is to kind of watch out for the way that we approach, talk to, communicate with other people. And then the selfishness and dishonesty, watch out for those things. Again, we want to try to not create any resentments. And we're human. We're going to make mistakes, and we're not perfect. So in this journey, those are going to happen, but you just want to try to minimize them as best you can. And again, this should continue for a lifetime in the way that you approach things, the way that you look at people around you, and how you handle it. And you are very quick to recognize when you've made a wrong. That's it. That's kind of the big message here. And then after that, you look for somebody that you can help, and that's kind of a homage to our step 12, and that's part of all of this. Bill?
Yeah, basically here we're moving into step 10, and if you notice, it says how many times it uses the word continue in here. Continue means keep doing something. We're not supposed to just skip over this step. We're supposed to keep doing this and it tells us we're supposed to do it for our lifetime. And it says we set right any new mistakes. In other words, we're going to make more mistakes. And the reason it says new mistakes, all of our old mistakes should have been taken care of in steps 4 through 9. We should have fixed all of that stuff. And now we're going to make new mistakes. And when we make new mistakes, we write them as they happen. And it says we're supposed to commence this way of life as we cleaned up the past. In other words, you don't wait till you finish your step 9. Step 9 can take you years to do. It could take you a long time to find people. You may have to pay off money, and you may have to make terms that could take a long time to do that. So right as soon as you get to step 9 and you're willing to do that and you got your list in order, you move right on to step 10. And step 10 is basically like a mini 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. All of the steps are mentioned in here, but basically when you continue to take personal inventory, we took our personal inventory in step 4. We're supposed to continue this. We're supposed to keep looking at ourselves, what we do that's wrong, whenever these things crop up, and then it tells us we're supposed to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. That's basically the same thing we did in step 4. And when these crop up, not if they crop up, when they crop up, because this stuff is going to come up anyway, we ask God at once to remove them. That's basically step 6 and 7. We discuss them with someone immediately. That's basically step 5. And we make amends quickly if we have harmed anyone. That could be 8 and 9. So basically, this is like a mini program right here in step 10. Step 10 is going through the whole program and doing this stuff on a daily basis. And then it says, then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. That's a reference to step 12. That's AA's fix for everything. We always try to help someone, because when we try to help someone, it makes us better. And then it says, love and tolerance of others is our code. That's the code of AA, or the code of step 10. We're supposed to have love and tolerance for others. And if we've gone through this process and we did step 4 correctly, and we looked at ourselves and we had that step 4 prayer, or that sick man prayer, we should have stopped hating people's guts by this point, and we should have love and tolerance for others. That doesn't mean we have to like people. It doesn't mean we have to go out to dinner with them, but we're not supposed to hate people's guts. Why? Because when we hate somebody, it makes us miserable. And when we get miserable, we're in danger of drinking. Okay, we're on the last paragraph on page 84. And these are known as the step 10 promises. And a lot of people believe this is a description of being recovered. And we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. For by this time, sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in liquor. If tempted, we recoil from it as from a hot flame. We react sanely and normally, and we find that this has happened automatically. We will see that our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. That is the miracle of it. We are not fighting it, neither are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we had been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We are neither cocky nor are we afraid. That is our experience. That is how we react, so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition.
Yeah, and as Bill said, this is where most people think is a good description of when we are recovered. I can tell you that I could feel it when I ceased to fight anything or anyone, even alcohol. I was fighting the urges. I was fighting the desire and the want of alcohol. And I can remember when I finally stopped the fight, there was this rush of calm that came over me. And at that point, I knew that I had tapped into that inner strength, that higher power, and was able to begin my journey as a recovered alcoholic. And certainly going through these steps just reinforced everything. And by the time I got to this point on my step 10.
Yeah, yeah, we lost. Oh, there we go. He's back.
Okay.
You're muted, Leo.
You're muted.
Yep. Thank you very much, guys. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Something happened. It was a bit of a glitch. So keywords here is sanity has returned. You recoil from alcohol. There is no temptation. You react sanely and normally. It's again now we're calm, collected, and it's really kind of an easygoing kind of feeling. There's this feeling of confidence, and you're going to find that this is just automatic. You're not even having to work at it. It's actually just happening, and it's a part of you. Without any thought or effort on your part. Again, that's another reference to the calmness and the easiness as to which this should be happening. And it is a miracle. I mean, getting to that point and that feeling that you have accomplished the recovery of it is really an important one. So, problem of alcoholism has been removed, and you're at that point where you can basically, where we say that you are recovered. Bill?
Yeah, a lot of people think the step 10 promises are better than the step 9 promises. I've been in meetings where they don't read the step 9 promises, they read the step 10 promises instead because they think this is better. And like was said, a lot of people think that this is a description of being recovered. And right here in the beginning on page 84, the bottom of 84, it says, "For by this time, sanity will have returned." That's a reference to step 2. Step 2 says, "Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity." And here it's saying that sanity has been returned. In other words, step 2 has taken place. We got what step 2 told us it was going to give us. And when we get on to page 85, down towards the end of that first paragraph, it says, "The problem has been removed." That's a reference to step 1. What's the problem? We're powerless over alcohol. We can't stop drinking. That's been removed. We were able to stop drinking. So there's a reference in here to step 2 and to step 1. All the steps are going to be referenced in this step 10 here. Okay, we're on the first new paragraph on page 85. It is easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. We're headed for trouble if we do, for alcohol is a subtle foe. We are not cured of alcoholism. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all our activities. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. These are thoughts which must go with us constantly. We can exercise our willpower along this line all we wish. It is the proper use of the will.
Yeah, so this is a pivoting point for everyone. It is where you basically take and you do not, I mean, you rely on your past accomplishments, but you don't rest on your past accomplishments. You basically start to say that you've crossed over, you have passed through the door of recovery, and now there's a whole new set of actions and responsibility that you have to others, and that's the point that you really want to kind of take home with this. Just not to rest, not to sit back, and I'm not saying don't sit back and reflect, because that's part of your step 11 that we're going to get into. But what I am saying is that you want to get into more action and continue forward. And we're going to find out getting that is where we're going is our step 12. But you really should jump out there and be courageous, be kind, considerate of others, be helpful, and you'll find that you're going to get it in return as well. Bill?
Yeah, but basically what Bill's doing here, he's telling us that it's easy to let up on the spiritual program of action. If we let up on the program of action, what's going to happen is, it told us back on page 66, the insanity of alcohol returns and we drink again. And it says here we can rest on our laurels. And what rest on your laurels means, that means you rely on past accomplishments. Because I already did something sometime in the past. I already did some of this program. People think they don't have to do it again. This is a continuous thing. It's a process. It's not a one and done. This is like if you have high blood pressure. You go to the doctor and the doctor gives you medicine for your high blood pressure. You don't just take one pill and then you're good for the rest of your life. You got to take your medicine every single day. And this is our medicine. That's the spiritual program of action. That's our medicine. And it's giving us a warning. We're headed for trouble if we do. And then it tells us we're not cured of alcoholism. What we have is a daily reprieve. A daily reprieve means you're pardoned for one day or whatever. When a prisoner is on death row and they get a reprieve, that means they get a postponement of a death sentence. And that's basically what a daily reprieve is. It's a postponement of an alcoholic death. And that's contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. That's another warning. If we don't maintain our spiritual condition, this stuff is not going to happen. We're going to slip back to where we were, and we're probably going to wind up drinking again. And then he tells us here a little bit further down, it's got it in quotes, how can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. That's a prayer. You can use that as a prayer, and that's a reference to step 11. That's what we're supposed to do in step 11. And then it says, these thoughts must go with us constantly. We can exercise the willpower along this line all we wish. It is the proper use of the will. That's a reference to step 3. So all of the steps are referenced here in this step 10. Step 10 is a really, really good step. I mean, it's like a safety net. When you do something wrong, when a mistake crops up or something, we're not supposed to have to go all the way back and start the program over again. We catch it in step 10. You don't have to go back and redo your step 4 again. If you want to, some people do that. You can catch whatever is going on right away in step 10, and then that keeps you from having to go all the way back and redoing everything again. Again, step 10 is like it's like a whole mini program right here. It's all mentioned right here in step 10. All right, now we're on the next paragraph on page 85. Much has already been said about receiving strength, inspiration, and direction from him who has all knowledge and power. If we have carefully followed directions, we have begun to sense the flow of his spirit into us. To some extent, we have become God conscious. We have begun to develop this vital sixth sense, but we must go further, and that means more action.
More action, absolutely. This power from your higher power, this strength that you've been able to get. I think it's really great the way they say it here: strength, inspiration, and direction. You're constantly asking for that direction and listening. It's a big one too, is to be able to listen. And if you've carefully, meaning that you've been very detail oriented, followed the directions, you've begun to sense the flow of the spirit into you. And I reference our brother Pinot Pete, and I love the way he describes the way it has as it has done for him over the past several months to years as it has finally come to him. And I just enjoy listening to his way of having this, how it has flowed into him. You're very conscious of your higher power. That's another kind of change, if you will, with regard to how you conduct yourself. And you'll find that this is a great beginning. As Bill said, your step 10 is an all-encompassing step, and a very good one to keep you from having to go back and doing any of the previous steps. You can basically take care of it in your step 10. And at this point, we're about to embark on step 11. But before we do that, I'm going to go back to Bill.
Okay, pretty much, if you notice here on the second line, it's got him with a capital H. So that's a reference to your higher power or to God. And what we get from him is strength, inspiration, and direction. So if we've been careful about this and we've done this correctly, that's what we're going to get. And it's got a promise in here. And this is the promise. If we have carefully followed directions, we have begun to sense the flow of his spirit into us. That's a promise. If we follow the directions in this book carefully, we start to get this sense of power that flows into us. And it says, to some extent, we have become God conscious. That means conscious means you're aware of something. When you're unconscious, you're not aware of anything. You don't know what's going on. When you become conscious, you know something. You're aware of something. So we've become God conscious. That means we know that God is working in our life. And we've begun to develop this vital sixth sense. What is the sixth sense? This sixth sense is being God conscious. That's basically what he's talking about here. And then he says we must go further, and that means more action. In other words, we're not anywhere near done. We have to go further. We have more stuff to do. All right, we're on the last paragraph on page 85. Step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. We shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer. Better men than we are using it constantly. It works if we have the proper attitude and work at it. It would be easy to be vague about this matter. Yet we believe we can make some definite and valuable suggestions.
So we're right now at the very beginning of talking about our step 11, and it is involving prayer and meditation, which I will say takes practice, it takes repetition, and it takes a little bit of time. So it's not necessarily hard. It just takes some time and some practice to get focused and really good at it from there. And there are a lot of apps out there that can help you if you are wanting to do meditation. And obviously there's a number of prayers that are stated in this book that you can use, or you can create your own similar to what's in the book, and that'll work as well. So good people are using this on a daily basis, constantly, and I guess kind of approaching it. You want to have also the proper attitude and idea about what you're trying to accomplish, and the positiveness that comes with it. Bill?
Okay, yeah, there's a promise in this paragraph. The promise is it works if we have the proper attitude and work at it. In other words, we have to do something. We have to work at this. We just can't say, God, get me out of this. We have to work at this. And it takes some time for this prayer to work. It just doesn't work overnight the first time you say it. This is something we have to do. And then it says we're going to we can make some definite and value suggestions. So what he's going to do now, Bill's going to give us some suggestions on how to pray and meditate. And then he's going to start here in this next paragraph. Okay, we're on the first paragraph on page 86. When we retire at night, we constructively review our day. Where were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Do we owe an apology? Have we kept something to ourselves which should be discussed with another person at once? Were we kind and loving toward all? What could we have done better? Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time? Or were we thinking of what we could do for others, of what we could tack into the stream of life? But we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection, for that would diminish our usefulness to others. After making our review, we ask God's forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures should be taken.
So when we retire at night, so this is done in the evening, before you go to bed or as you're going to bed, you constructively review your day. It's really very self-explanatory here. Were you resentful? These are great questions to ask yourself. So it's not like you have to figure out how to do a step 11. It's very succinct here with regard to the things that you would ask yourself. It's fairly comprehensive. Do we owe an apology? Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? And those are just some things that you want to take a look at, and you want to be open, you want to be honest, and you want to be comprehensive with looking at how the day went. And most of us, going on a day-to-day basis, it's a lot easier to reflect on a day as opposed to reflecting on a week, because we'll probably forget what we did last Monday, and therefore we might miss something. So how much were you selfish in thinking of yourself instead of others? Or were you actually very good at thinking about others? One of the things I think is important here is that also not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection, because all it does is going to create some more complications and problems and set you up for some failures going forward, because you're either afraid to approach somebody, you really messed up, and so then you get really hard on yourself. It just shouldn't be that way. And then really kind of come full circle here at the end here, where they say, after making our review, we ask God's forgiveness, and that is that you don't carry it anymore. You've let it go, and you've been able to make some notes, mental or physically, and what corrective measures should be taken, which is going to help you set up for your morning review of how your day is going to go going forward. But we'll get to that in just a minute. Bill?
Yeah, Bill's giving us instructions here on when we're supposed to start doing step 11. And according to this, it says when we retire at night. That's when we start step 11. And we're supposed to review our day. That means we look over what we did during the day. And it asks us, were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? There's a bunch of questions in here that this is asking us. In step 10, it told us to continue to watch for those things. And now in step 11, it's asking us if those things cropped up. Did we watch for them? In other words, step 11 is asking you, did you do step 10 today? That's pretty much what it's saying here. And that's a mini step 4 again. Resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid. That's the same stuff we did in step 10 and the same things that we did in step 4. And do we owe an apology? Hey, have we kept something to ourselves which should be discussed with another person at once? That's a reference to step 5 again. Just like in step 10, they had step 5. Now they got step 5 again in step 11. And then down towards the bottom of it, it says, after making our review, we ask God's forgiveness. That's step 6 and 7. And inquire what corrective measures should be done. That would be steps 8 and 9. What should we do to fix whatever we did that was wrong? In other words, in step 10, Bill told us, keep doing 4 through 9 during the day. And now he's telling us at night we're supposed to go through 4 through 9 again before we retire at night. In other words, if you live in this program and incorporate these steps into your life, you got a much, much better chance of getting better. That's pretty much what he's saying here. And step 11 is basically reviewing whether you did the rest of the steps during the day like you were supposed to. Okay, we're on the next paragraph. On awakening, Let us think about the 24 hours ahead. We consider our plans for the day. Before we begin, we ask God to direct our thinking, especially asking that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonest, or self-seeking motives. Under these conditions, we can employ our mental faculties with assurance. For after all, God gave us brains to use. Our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when our thinking is cleared of wrong motives.
So there is a lot of, on awakening, you're going to look ahead and see what it is that you need to do. So you take what you kind of reflected on at night, the night prior, you apply it to the day coming up, and you decide how best to approach that. And you make sure that you're not thinking of yourself and being selfish. You want to make sure that you're being open and honest, and you want to be confident and courageous going forward. There should be good things happening right now. This is where you start to really feel good about yourself, about your day, about how you are approaching other people, and like I said, it's a big change for you, and you begin to be on a different playing field, a good one, a much better one than you were on before, and one where you withdrew from people and things and curled up with a bottle of alcohol. This is really shedding all of that as you've done in your step 9 to 10, and having felt that, now you've got your ability to kind of proactively look at your day in the evening, and then how you're going to conduct yourself the next day. And this is really where you enter in your step 9 amends. This is where you kind of say, okay, I've got these 11 amends to make. I'm going to do this one and this one today, and I'm going to do this one with a phone call, and this one I'm going to see so-and-so at lunch, and I'm going to talk about it then for that. So this is kind of that exercise that you're going through and looking at your day, planning it out, and looking at how you can be of service to others. Bill?
Yeah, the step 11 begins when we retire at night, and you continue it when you wake up the next morning. In other words, this is like a 24/7 step. You're supposed to use it all the time. You start it at night and you continue it the next day when you wake up. And it says, let us think about the 24 hours ahead. You'll hear people in the room say no thinking for a year. This book doesn't say that. This book says as soon as you wake up the next morning, you're supposed to think about your day. Think about what's going to go on during that day. And there's a prayer here in the middle of this chapter. We ask God to direct our thinking, especially asking that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonest, or self-seeking motives. That's a prayer in the 11th step. You can call that an 11th step prayer or whatever you want to call it. Anytime it says we ask God, that means we're praying. So you make a prayer out of that. You can just read it out of the book or add to it anything that you want. And then towards the end of the paragraph, it says, God gave us brains to use. Again, we're supposed to use our brains. We're supposed to be thinking. We're supposed to be doing what we know is the right thing to do. Again, you'll hear people in the room say no thinking for a year. I don't know who made that up, but that's not in my book anywhere. This right here says we're supposed to think about our day when we wake up, and it says God gave us brains to use. So those people that tell you that there's no thinking for a year, they're obviously not using their brains. So don't listen to any of that kind of stuff. Listen to what this book says. All right, we're on the last paragraph on page 86. In thinking about our day, we may face indecision. We may not be able to determine which course to take. Here we ask God for inspiration, an intuitive thought or decision. We relax and take it easy. We don't struggle. We are often surprised how the right answers come after we have tried this for a while. What used to be the hunch or occasional inspiration gradually becomes a working part of the mind. Being still inexperienced and having just made conscious contact with God, It is not probable that we are going to be inspired at all times. We might pray for this presumption in all sorts of absurd actions and ideas. Nevertheless, we find that our thinking will, as time passes, be more and more on the plane of inspiration. We come to rely upon it.
This is a process, and it's one that takes, again, practice and repetition. It's not going to be perfect by any stretch, and you're going to make mistakes. But just knowing that going forward, I think that you can again be confident that you're trying your best, and that is a genuine trying your best, and doing so, you should feel good about it. If it doesn't really materialize in the way that you had hoped it would, at least you gave it the best shot that you had, and you were, relying on your higher power for some of that direction and that inspiration to on how to approach a particular part of your day, whether that is to make an amend or to correct something that you had done wrong prior to the day, and or just in the way that you conduct yourself with other people around you, etc. So that as time goes by, this will become more and more of a learned behavior that becomes a habit, and a good one. And that's the idea that you want to try to get to. Again, this is a process, and one that is very rewarding once you've put it into practice on a constant basis. Bill?
Yeah, it says here right in the beginning of this paragraph, we may face indecision. That means something that we can't make our mind up on. Then it gives us another prayer here. Here we ask God for inspiration, an intuitive thought or decision. In other words, we're supposed to ask God what to do. We're supposed to pray about things. That's what this is telling us. And then at the bottom of page 86, it says, we are often surprised how the right answers will come after we have tried this for a while. In other words, it doesn't happen 1, 2, 3. We're going to have to try it for a while. Time takes time. That's pretty much what he's telling us here. And then on the top of page 87, he tells us we've just made conscious contact with God. In other words, now we're getting in contact with our higher power or with God. And it says it's not probable that we're going to be inspired at all times. In other words, this is going to take some practice, and it's going to take some work at it. And then it says, nevertheless, we find that our thinking will, as time passes, be more and more on the plane of inspiration. As time passes, in other words, time takes time. This is not going to work the first time that you do it. It takes time. You're going to have to start praying, and you're going to have to start relying on your higher power, and it's going to take time for all of this stuff to take place. And that's basically what he's trying to tell us here. All right, we're on the first new paragraph on page 87. We usually conclude the period of meditation with a prayer that we be shown all through the day what our next step is to be, and that we be given whatever we need to take care of such problems. We ask especially for freedom from self-will and are careful to make no requests for ourselves only. We may ask for ourselves, however, if others will be helped. We are careful to never pray for our own selfish ends. Many of us have wasted a lot of time doing that, and it doesn't work. You can easily see why.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before, and that is that the idea that you don't pray for yourself, with the exception of praying for the strength in order to be able to approach and to serve other people. The guidance, pray for the guidance to be able to do the right things, and the direction for how you should conduct yourself in and around other people. But otherwise, you're looking for that guidance on how best to help another person, and maybe you're praying for that other person in order to be in a good place. And you want to make sure that you're going to be able to do some good problem solving, and you want to have the strength and the confidence in order to be able to do that. So going forward, just being really careful not to be selfish, but be selfless. And they kind of make reference to here at the end here, doing that hasn't worked in the past, and now with the goodwill that you're carrying forward to other people, you can see why. Bill?
Yeah, Bill Wilson here. He's giving us instructions on how to pray. He's telling us what we should do. And like was already said, we're not supposed to pray for our own selfish ends. That kind of stuff doesn't work. We're supposed to pray on how we can help others and what we can do. We can pray for ourselves if it's going to help others also, but we're not supposed to pray for selfish things because that just doesn't work. All right, we're on the next paragraph on page 87. If circumstances warrant, we ask our wives or friends to join us in morning meditation. If we belong to a religious denomination which requires a definite morning devotion, we attend to that also. If not members of religious bodies, we sometimes select and memorize a few set prayers which emphasize the principles we have been discussing. There are many helpful books also. Suggestions about these may be obtained from one's priest, minister, or rabbi. Be quick to see where religious people are right. Make use of what they offer.
Yep, and that is a great way to do this. It's nice if you have other people sitting alongside you, being a part of this. I think that there's a private piece of it, a very personal piece of it that you have to kind of keep to yourself, and that's important. But it's always nice if you have the support of other people in and around you to meditate. And not only that, but if they begin to do their own step 11, if you will, then things are just that much better. They're that much more receptive to your new found behavior, and that's always a positive as well. The more support you have, the better chances of success you're going to realize. And you can talk to clergy, and again, we talked about this earlier, selecting a few prayers to say, and emphasizing the tenets of what we have been discussing previously, and looking out for other things, books to help in some manner or fashion, and again, relying on the clergy for some of that inspiration and guidance. Bill, we're about there. You want to finish us up, please?
Okay, yeah, pretty much. Bill's just telling us here different ways to pray and how you can do it. You can find prayers in different books. You can ask priests or ministers or rabbis, whatever. If you want to use different religious prayers, that's fine. If you want to make up your own prayers, these free-form prayers, whatever. However you do it is fine, as long as you do it. All right, we're on the bottom of page 87. These are promises here.
Hey, Bill,
as we go through
we're going to stop here. We'll pick it back up.
Okay, all right, you want to stop here? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yep. So we do stop with the Serenity Prayer, and you want to follow along. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.